Welcome to That's Good Sports Podcast, the podcast about football. That is, the title suggests we talk about all sports, but we really don't. I'm Brandon Perna here with Will Keys. Hi, Will.
What's up, Brandon? Happy the draft is over, I assume.
Yes. Getting through the NFL draft for videos is like a gauntlet. This podcast, you can download it on Podbean, the That's Good Sports Podcast on Podbean. I'm posting this video on my main YouTube channel, but we will be going back to posting the podcast on my second channel, That's Good Podcasts. So if you want to sub there to listen to this podcast, and the Blitzed NFL radio podcast is there, just to clarify so people know. Usually during the season, Will and I podcast every week. Off season, it's every other week-ish, and that's probably the schedule we'll be sticking to. But today, we got a lot to fucking talk about. The draft happened.
It did.
So we're probably going to discuss that.
Several rounds happened.
We'll dive into the Broncos draft and the AFC West in general, I think, is where we're going to focus. But we'll start by discussing the Josh Rosen trade, the Giants, who everybody says lost the draft, and the Washington Redskins potatoes, who everybody says won the draft. So I think that's a good place to start. I think everybody saw Steve Smith rip Josh Rosen a new asshole, unprompted, and based on, I think, maybe just what Steve Smith heard about Josh Rosen and his flaws as a college quarterback coming into the NFL, and said Josh Rosen basically isn't a man, needs to sack up and compete, just basically bitched out and was ready to hand over the job to Kyler Murray because Josh Rosen didn't want to compete. Nothing is given to you, and if you wanted an ass kicking, he could get it up on the stage at the NFL draft. Whole bunch of stuff. But then today I read in Peter King's Monday Morning Quarterback a quote from Josh Rosen's agent during the whole draft trade, which is kind of interesting. I'd recommend you reading it. But this was from his agent. It said they got the call about, the Cardinals, they were going to take Kyler Murray. But then the Cardinals couldn't get a draft or a trade partner right away because they waited to try to do it until the night of the draft. And Rosen, to his agent, said if they're Rosen's agent told Rosen that they might keep Rosen and Murray, and Rosen said if that's their position, then I'll just beat him out and Kyler can be the backup. So I just thought that was an interesting nugget after Steve Smith's tirade. If it's true, then everything Steve Smith said looks even dumber. If it's not true and them just trying to show that Josh Rosen is a competitor, very smooth PR play. What do you think happened, Will? Yeah,
I mean, that was never going to happen. If they drafted Kyler Murray number 1 overall, there's zero chance that they start the season with Josh Rosen. Let alone start him on the roster. He's definitely not starting on the field. Regardless of what happens. If you draft the quarterback number 1 and are planning on trending the other guy, he's just getting off the roster as soon as possible. And luckily for them and the Dolphins, I guess, they were able to get rid of him in exchange for 62nd pick and then I think a 5th round pick next year, something like that. Sounds about right. I thought it was a pretty good deal for the Dolphins. It sounded like they wanted something around a late first round pick, maybe an early second round pick. But at that point, they got stuck in a pretty tough place because the two guys that you would have thought needed a quarterback had two quarterbacks. Either, the Giants, obviously, according to everyone, reached for Daniel Jones, which I think, you and I both believe too. And then Dwayne Haskins kind of just fell right to the Redskins, who were probably thinking about trading up to get him in the first place. So those were the only two real suitors for Josh Rosen, aside from the Dolphins. And they got their quarterback needs taken care of within the first hour of the draft starting. So basically Miami was in a spot where they had all the leverage and they could say, well, we can go with the original plan and just play out a season with Ryan Fitzpatrick and tank for a good pick and take, whoever, Tua Tagovailoa or Jake Fromm next year in the draft. Or we can give you below market value for a first-round talent at quarterback. And that's what they got.
It's really like for Miami, it's a good situation because if Josh Rosen goes in there and starts this season and plays well, then they have potentially found a quarterback to start for them for a while, because the thing that sucks with Josh Rosen is the Cardinals were definitely the worst team last year, but based on their roster, the Dolphins could easily be the worst team this year.
They could, yeah. That's how they set it up.
He is not going into a good situation per se, but if he has experience playing for a shitty team, like a year of NFL experience as a quarterback, like you can't trade that for what you know about a rookie QB that's not a surefire pick coming out of the draft. So if he plays well, Miami, maybe they find their guy. If the Dolphins are as shitty as I think they're going to be, and he doesn't play well, and they're sitting with the first top 3 pick next year, they're going to be able to get another quarterback. And they can keep Josh Rosen and let that quarterback sit for another year while they're shitty, although I doubt they would do that. My hope would be that Josh Rosen –
right.
Actually, I really hope Josh Rosen succeeds, but for storyline purpose, he gets traded next draft and replaced by a first pick and goes to a team where that happens, and that just happens every year for Josh Rosen until he accidentally wins a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he's like Sideshow Bob, just stepping on the rake every 5 seconds.
Yeah, like by no real fault of his own. He just –
No. Bad luck, Josh. Another reason it's a good deal for the Dolphins too, like you said, like they can keep him around. They didn't invest very much in him. Like a high second-round pick, a 5th-round pick next year, and they're still paying him on his rookie deal. Like,
yeah, and the Cardinals are paying like $6 million of his salary or some shit.
Yeah, so the thing is, like, it's not a risky trade for them whatsoever. It's really all upside.
Yeah.
So you really have to hand it to them, to the Dolphins. Obviously, they got lucky with what I said about the Giants and the Redskins getting their quarterbacks early and really making them the only suitor on the market. But, they waited it out pretty much perfectly and got probably the best deal available from the Cardinals.
Yeah, and then the Cardinals went on and drafted like 3 wide receivers.
Yeah.
And like
I don't know if that makes them better right now.
No, but like as Josh Rosen having almost no weapons last year and then see the team take a new guy to replace you and then try to give him all the weapons you wished you would have had, like it just sucks.
Not only with Cliff Kingsbury. He goes from like, okay, cool, I get to play in Cliff Kingsbury's offense. We have the number 1 overall pick to make our team better too. Like things are looking out for Josh Rosen. And then the moment that Kyler Murray decides that he doesn't want to play baseball, just everything spirals out of control for him. But, like he handled it pretty much perfectly, I think. Like I don't blame him for whatever he did, unfollowing the Cardinals on Instagram or Twitter, because the Cardinals literally changed their handle to Cards Got Kyler. And we're posting every 5 minutes about Kyler Murray. So, like, who in their right mind would want to look at that, knowing that, you just got supplanted and you're about to be traded, within a day. So I don't blame him at all for that. Maybe perhaps that's the millennial in me, but I tend to differ from Steve Smith because, he's got a wide receivers mentality. Where you can play 5 different wide receivers on a team, and you can only play 1 quarterback.
Yeah,
so
it's a little
very
different.
Very different.
It's just it's kind of rare that you see a former player shit on another player the way Steve Smith did.
Yeah,
when that player's like in a bad situation too, and like Steve Smith was wrong, but I love listening to Steve Smith talk because he does stuff like that. Like
exactly
entertaining. And usually like, even when he says crazy things, there's a solid nugget of truth under what he's saying. And this situation kind of had that, but he was just, I don't know, it was off base. But let's move on to the Giants, because they're right now everybody's laughing at them.
Correct.
And I think they received Mel Kiper's worst draft grade, which was a C+. So Mel Kiper, pretty positive about everybody's drafts. Thor Nystrom of Roto World kindly gave them a D, while giving the Dolphins a D-. And the Raiders and Cowboys, he both gave an F. So I like Nystrom because he goes A to F on his draft grading scale.
Yeah, he's a mess around.
Whose floor is C+. But the Giants had 3 first-round picks, which I don't think is a bad thing, although they did receive criticism from George R.R. Martin saying he did not like the selection of Daniel Jones. So
you would think that he had, more pressing issues this weekend. But
you would think, but he didn't have to do any, work with it really.
I guess you're right. He might as well relax and watch the draft while waiting for whatever show that is on Sunday night. So I appreciate it. It makes me like him more.
Yeah. Takes time to talk about. He's got a blog, I guess, and he wrote an article about the Jets and the Giants draft picks.
I will be clicking on that as soon as we hang up.
It was really funny.
By the way, how do you luck into a name like Thor Nystrom?
I don't know. It's pretty badass.
Yeah, and not just become a professional athlete.
I think it would be better if it was Thor Nystorm.
That's pretty good too.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
What I love is draft grades and how meaningless they are, but how every major NFL outlet has to do them because people consume them, and there's no repercussions for being wrong. It's just funny how it's taken so seriously, and almost nobody is ever right.
Oh, you mean like mock drafts?
yeah, exactly. But the Giants clearly are going to be ruined for years to come.
According to this, yeah. I mean, it all if Daniel Jones is good or even halfway good or a slightly above average starter, 6 isn't a reach for him. That's just the thing. If he's good enough, there's been much worse quarterbacks taken at number 1 overall. So I think
Kyler Murray could end up being much worse. He has got potential to be great, but let's be honest, there's a lot of uncertainty around him as an NFL quarterback as well, as explosive and accurate. There's a lot there, but there's really, I don't know. This draft class for quarterbacks was kind of weird. So nobody thought Daniel Jones was the second best quarterback in the draft except the Giants. And they tried to lie and say other teams wanted him, and that's not true either.
Yeah, not at the range where not at the range between 6 and 17 where they thought they wouldn't be able to get him if they didn't take him at 6. But the thing about Daniel Jones, when you watch him, it's not a surprise that the Giants took him because we've all heard about David Cutcliffe and the Manning Passing Academy, but his passing mechanics are pretty much identical to that of Eli Manning. So this is just, the Giants know physically that unless there's some type of technology that comes along in the next, 2 to 3 years, they won't be able to stretch out Eli's career, into, 2100, the year 2100. But getting Daniel Jones, who is basically a carbon copy of Eli Manning, is the next best thing.
Right.
And they're they're like Liberace, who made his husband get all this plastic surgery to look more like Liberace. That's the best analogy I can think of. Basically, they just wanted Kmart Eli Manning, and that's kind of what they got.
Yeah, I mean, not even Target, Kmart.
No. Yeah, Target Eli Manning would be yikes. Probably the next actual Manning that comes along. 'Cause Target's, a pretty good store, in my opinion.
No, Target is, I mean, it's oh, God.
I break out in hives thinking about Target.
Sorry, I'm trying to get to the Giants draft picks here.
Well, they got Dexter Lawrence with their next pick at 17, and then they got DeAndre Baker. They traded back into the first round to get.
Right. So that's the thing. Like at 6, taking Daniel Jones when you could say, okay, they could have taken him at 17 and just grabbed one of the more premier pass rushers at 6, right?
Which is who they would have taken, according to Dave Gettleman himself after the draft.
They would have taken who?
Josh Allen.
Yeah. And maybe they should have. But it depends. Like Dexter Lawrence might be great on the defensive line, and I think they got a really good corner in DeAndre Baker. So they added talent in that first round.
They did.
While also adding, Daniel Jones, who probably won't play at all next year unless Eli Manning gets hurt. So I don't think it's as bad as everybody made it out to be. It's just a strange narrative to kind of run off of. And I think it's just too easy to say that the Giants fucked up. And that in Washington is getting glowing reviews from everybody because they take Haskins at 15 when everybody thought they were going to trade up to get him. And the only reason they're saying that is because they got good value at that pick. And that's what I think that's what draft grades are really all about is your perceived value for where you select guys.
Yeah, because you can't judge all right, well, we know these guys are going to be good and these guys aren't. Nobody knows until 3 or 4 years down the road. But I think the only way you can adequately give draft grades is based on who manipulated the draft well, and who traded down. And usually the best draft grades go to teams like the Broncos, who traded down and got a player in the second round who was projected to go in the first round. And that's really, that's all you can say is someone who, knew the trade market well enough and were still able to accumulate value based on, getting the guys they wanted plus additional picks.
Right. And, Washington then drafted Montez Sweat.
Yep.
After he was cleared from the medical thing or whatever.
And the fastest 40 time in the history of defensive linemen at the combine. So could turn out to be a really good pick.
Yeah. I just and maybe this is a great draft for Washington. And maybe Haskins turns out to be a really good quarterback for them, but I just have no faith in that organization to be good.
I mean, I think we kind of forget that the Redskins were on a trajectory toward the playoffs before Alex Smith's leg got corkscrewed and completely mangled and chewed off by wild dogs on the field. And after that, obviously, when you lose your quarterback and then Colt McCoy goes down too, and then Mark Sanchez goes down too, and you're literally reaching into the AAF for a quarterback to win a game, your season's going to spiral out of control. But they were in a pretty good place until disaster struck last year, and that completely changed the entire trajectory of their franchise. Because they still have to pay Alex Smith knowing that he's not going to be on the team next year. They still have to pay him a lot of money. And now, you're still paying, who knows, because you're paying Case Keenum too, although at a discounted rate from what he signed for with the Broncos last year. But he's on the books. Alex Smith is on the books. And then potentially the best quarterback on your roster is Dwayne Haskins, who's not going to, cost a lot. But, in a year from now, Alex Smith's going to be ready and you're going to be paying a backup unless he has any trade value, which at that point I don't think he does.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they handle that all. And really, it's just last year, you're right, injuries derailed Washington, but it's always something for Washington.
Yeah.
And there's continued disconnect between, ownership and coaching. Like Daniel Snyder does not try to work with his head coaches or be on the same page or communicate with them. And I think if you have that problem, you're always going to have issues with your team, even if like.
That's why I don't believe in the Browns still.
Yeah, but I mean, who's their GM? Dorsey.
Yeah, John Dorsey.
Like, I feel like Dorsey's changing that culture there.
Yeah. I mean, probably a topic for another episode, but you still need the foundational pieces there.
You're right. That's a good to go to.
I don't think the Redskins should be allowed to draft a quarterback until they like fix their field and assure people that their cleats won't sink into the ground and just rip their ACL off of their kneecap.
Do they have a bad field notoriously?
So,
gotcha.
I think they got a good draft grade essentially because there are these reports that Daniel Snyder was going to take over the draft and do something really, really stupid. And then the moment that he did not do that very, very stupid thing, people are like, wow, this is
great move.
This is incredible when they just did the thing that they were supposed to do the whole time.
Dave Gettleman was like, I'll show you how to be stupid, Daniel Snyder.
Yeah, watch him learn.
That NFC East, All right, let's go. Let's head into the Broncos draft.
Yep.
Because I'm sure a lot of people want us to talk about that, Will.
Correct.
Their highest draft grade was an A, lowest C+. So pretty good range there.
Could be anything, according to Mel Kiper. Could just be the worst draft, could be the best.
In the moment, I really did not like them moving back and not taking Devin Bush. I just felt like I had heard so much positive talk about Devin Bush as a player heading into the draft that it would have made a lot of sense to get that kind of dynamic player on defense. But overall, I think most people are really happy with the Broncos draft. I think my biggest critique is I'm not sure Connor McGovern is a good center. They do have Sam Jones, who they could swap at center, and then they have McGovern, Leary, and Reisner, who they can figure out however they want to play in the guard positions.
I mean, Reisner can play center too.
Right.
That's kind of one of the reasons they took him is because he can play tackle, guard, and center.
Yeah, so it's –
right.
Like I think I said in my video, like I would feel very good about the Broncos line had Matt Paradis been returning, but that's kind of a minor critique if you're worried about maybe one position on the offensive line, especially compared to where the Broncos have been previously.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Garrett Bowles is going to be great or, Juwann Taylor is going to be great, but I think they're going to be decent. And I think Reisner is
they didn't take Juwann Taylor.
Oh, sorry. I'm talking about the tackle they signed from Miami.
Juwann James. Sorry, not Juwann James. We're all getting it mixed up.
It's Juwann. There's too many Juwanns.
Yeah.
So anyway, they take Noah Fant at 20. Do you like that pick, Will? I've already talked about it. Do you like it?
Yeah, see, this was confusing for me because obviously they traded down from 10 to 20, which I thought was fine because they're going to get pretty good value for it. And if Vic Fangio wasn't a fan of Devin Bush or wasn't sold on him, that's good enough for me because
you got to trust that.
Specialty is linebackers. And you know what? Like they've spent a lot of resources at the tight end position, and I shouldn't say a lot of resources, but they've kept like trying to
fill it like mid-draft.
Yeah. They've been trying to cheap out a little bit at tight end or like trying to hit home runs, late in the draft, like with Jake Butt. And obviously we've gotten, like 3 games from him and Jeff Hireman, who they re-signed but is, often injured.
Right. And then like Matt LaCosse's and AJ Derby's like.
Right. And it's like, we just need a playmaker there and let's invest in the first round. And you get – because obviously you get the 2 Iowa tight ends who TJ Hawkinson's kind of like the more complete guy, is a really refined blocker, and he's got more height. But then Noah Fant's kind of the guy who like stretches the field in a way that he's sort of like I don't want to call him like Evan Ingram because Evan Ingram's like pretty much a wide receiver, but and then this is too lofty of a comparison, but I want to give people like an idea of like what his play style is like. Like he's kind of going to be used like Shannon Sharp, where he stretches the field down the middle, and then you want him like to get matched up on linebackers so he can just torch them down the middle of the field, and kind of spread them out and give Flacco a guy who he can just go deep to down the middle of the field whenever he wants. And
he was really good in the red zone for Iowa. So
yeah,
that's an area the Broncos have struggled. And now looking into Courtland Sutton coming into his second year, there's like he's a jump ball guy in the red zone, right? And if you've got two players like that, if you have Fant and Sutton, you have got a mismatch on one of those guys where you can take an easy, safe shot into the end zone, especially with Joe Flacco. And then I think the thing that makes the most sense about the Noah Fant pick is the way San Francisco had success with George Kittle and bringing in Scangarello to be the offensive coordinator. And obviously that's not going to be all on Rich Scangarello. You've got Kyle Shanahan there designing that offense. You've got George Kittle, who's a special talent at the position, but there's a fit there. There's a way to tie in me believing that they're going to have success and how they utilize Noah Fant next year.
Yeah, and you can run a lot of two tight end formations where Noah Fant's either flexed out or he's off the line, and you can have Hireman blocking. And there's just a lot of things you can do. And you have a really diverse tight end room between Hireman, Fant, and Butt, and
Fumagalli, who we don't know what kind of.
Yeah, we don't really know what who he is at this point.
Where did he come? Was he Wisconsin?
Yeah. So
I know Wisconsin people love Fumagalli.
Yeah, 4 Big Ten tight ends.
One of them's got to work out.
Who really knows? I don't know. Maybe they all make the roster. That'd be nice, I guess.
Here's the other thing I thought was really smart, and it was Brandon Thorne on The Athletic wrote about this. But the AFC West, their linebackers are terrible at defending tight ends. So last year,
including our own, yes.
Yeah, including our own. But last year, Kansas City was 30th. They gave up 13 yards per reception. The Raiders 25th, 12.2 yards, and the Chargers 21st, 11.8 yards per reception. So hopefully, if Fant works out, they always talk about you're trying to build your team to compete within your division. And I think if you're looking at this is one of those moves that, assuming those things continue, but they never do because, the defenses and teams change every year, but that might be a great mismatch for the Broncos to exploit in the AFC West.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a good idea to have a super athletic tight end, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think it could ever be a bad thing.
Okay, so Dalton Reisner, everybody agrees this was the greatest pick in Broncos history since they traded for John Elway. So my question to you, Will, is Dalton Reisner, is he as Colorado as Philip Lindsay? And I want your opinion because you live in Sacramento.
Yeah, no, obviously I'm uniquely qualified to weigh in on this question. It's a good question because he's not an underdog necessarily.
No.
Maybe in the sense that he was a first-round talent that went early in the second round. That's his underdog story, and he'll be on he'll get this whole Sports Center feature on him a year from now. Doesn't live with his parents. I don't know if living with your parents is a very Colorado thing. I don't know what.
No, I think it's probably average for on state. Sort of.
I mean,
probably
I think
above average actually.
Yeah, I don't know what your housing market's like right now.
It's expensive.
Yeah, so maybe it is. Maybe living with your parents will be a very Colorado thing to do. But he seems very gritty. A big fan of John Elway.
That helps. That helps you get all the local teams. By John Elway.
Yeah, I think if you just admit that you're a John Elway guy ahead of the draft, there's an 80% chance he'll take you, unless your name's Dwayne Haskins.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think the difference is Philip Lindsay came in being pissed off at the Broncos for not taking him.
Right.
And his mom was the only reason he signed with Denver. because he wanted to tell him to fuck off. And Dalton's just very thankful to be there. He allowed 1 sack in college.
Pretty good. I mean, he didn't. Yeah, he wasn't playing in like necessarily the best defensive conference coming out of the Big 12, but 1 sack in college is 1 sack in college.
2 hurries last year. Yeah, so
pretty good.
You got to feel good about the Broncos' offensive line, and then
He's got a good offensive lineman name too, Dalton Reisner.
Yeah, that sounds like a line guy.
Yeah, he seems like he could be around for 10 years.
Not as good as like Willie Trenches, but
no,
that's just a guy I made up.
Willie McTrenches.
Willie McTrenches and
going 12th overall next year.
Ooh, John Wall would be a good offensive lineman.
Yeah,
like that basketball
a better
reference.
Offensive lineman than a point guard. Nailed it. You like them Nuggets, Will? You rooting for those Nuggets? I was, yeah.
All right.
Who are they playing this round? The
Trailblazers.
The Trailblazers, yeah. No, I'm rooting for them. God knows my team hasn't been in it for several decades. So
yeah, you think the Blazers are gonna upset the Nuggets?
I don't think it would be an upset. It's the 2 and the 3 seed. So
yeah, I know, but they are the 3 seed. Will.
Yeah.
How good are the Blazers? Is my question.
They're always good enough to win in the first round.
Okay.
But they lost Yusuf Nurkic this year, who was a big part of their offense. Nugget. Right, and I don't think their ceiling's quite as high without him. So
cool. Okay, that's all the basketball talk you get today.
Yeah, I was talking NBA.
And then the Broncos take Drew Lock.
The big pick. This is the reason they got such a high grade. He came in.
Value,
because a lot of people had us taking him at 10. And anytime you can take a player projected to go at 10 at 42, that's going to help you out. I think that's a pretty good move.
He was the second best quarterback in the draft before Kyler Murray decided not to play baseball.
Yeah.
But also, I think he got a lot of recognition because people knew John Elway was interested in him as well.
Yeah.
And one thing I will discredit the Broncos is they're not good at – when John Elway likes a quarterback, everybody knows for –
They tip their cards.
Like Paxton Lynch, people were talking about him to the Broncos for weeks before the draft.
In the middle of the season, there was a report like while Peyton Manning was still on the team that they were calling Paxton Lynch's high school coach.
Yeah, like they're
who clearly was not a reliable source, by the way.
Right. No. So – and John Elway does not have a great track record with his college quarterback evaluations. But last year's draft was pretty good. I would say this draft isn't bad. I'm not sure it's as great as everybody says it is. It's solid for only 6 picks.
Yeah.
I don't think they needed to trade up to take their 6th round pick, Juwann Winfree, but
I don't think so either.
Drew Lock, I don't know. I'm not going to pretend like I watched Missouri football all year and I have a good feeling for who Drew Lock is. I'm just going on based on what I've read and researched over the last 2 weeks and the highlights and the shit I've watched. And he seems like he could be really good, but he seems like he could just I don't know Daniel Jones. I don't know truly with Dwayne Haskins. I don't have a good feel on it, and I'm obviously hoping he is the best quarterback in this draft and turns out to be a franchise guy for the Broncos. But I don't think that's by far not even close to a solid feeling I have. Drew Lock's definitely the guy moving forward. I don't know.
No, you don't know. And kind of the thing that most people who know about this subject said was that his best case scenario is if he can go somewhere where he doesn't have to play right away. Right. And obviously with Joe Flacco, that's, not going to be a necessity, barring some type of injury or 5 interceptions in week 1.
Yeah. Starting out 0-3 or Flacco getting hurt. Those are the 2 ways Drew Lock starts.
Yeah. And even that's better than starting week 1. You would assume.
Yeah.
But and plus, there's way more pressure to play earlier if you go at 10 versus going at 42.
No, that's true.
there will be people that will be calling for him to start because, like, there are people calling for Kyle Sloter to start. It doesn't necessarily make it right.
Is Sloter the official backup in Minnesota now?
I think so. Well, they just signed, yeah.
Simeon signed with the Jets,
right?
Which is something I missed somehow, I think.
Yeah, that was pretty under the radar.
Or we would have done a 40-minute video about that.
Correct. Yeah, we still might. I think he is, yeah. And people there love him too because he's just like the king of the preseason, just master of the fourth stringers. Just, by the way, doesn't mean you're going to be good against, like, Roquan Smith and Eddie Jackson in week 14.
Right.
But the thing about Drew Lock is it was super productive at Missouri. Like, I went back, and he started his junior year. So the Missouri started 1-5 in the SEC. And you're like, okay, he's basically hit rock bottom in his college career. And then they dug themselves out, and, like, Drew Lock goes on this absolute tear, throws 43 touchdowns this season, and climbs back and goes 7-5 in a season where he started 1-5 in the SEC. And from there, like, people are taking him seriously as a draft prospect. He's still got some issues. Like, he doesn't throw very well with his legs, but, at the same time, neither is Patrick Mahomes, and Chiefs figured that out pretty well. So he's going to need some coaching, and he's not a finished product, but, like, Daniel Jones is a finished product. And being a finished product, like, right when you're drafted it's not necessarily the best thing. It just means, like, you have a ceiling and you've probably, come close to reaching it already. So there's a range on, how good he can be. But the ceiling is as high as I think anyone in this draft.
Yeah, to me it feels like for Drew Lock to succeed, based on kind of what I saw, is he needs to have a good offensive line when he does start playing.
So it helps that Dalton Reisner was taken one pick ahead of him. Right,
and because a lot of what I saw with Drew Lock is he made incredible throws when he had a lot of time to do so.
Yeah.
But that's not to say he didn't make good, off script throws or under pressure necessarily either. But that's also when he made mistakes, was under pressure. And you could say that about any quarterback too. That's not like some thing, but he seems like a guy, if he goes in and the Broncos have a good line, he gets that confidence about being able to play at this level. I think that'll be the thing that helps him excel. And maybe we see what his full potential could be, early on. And because of his arm strength, his footwork is criticized, like you're saying, Patrick Mahomes. But if you can make any throw on the field from your fucking back foot or something, that's the Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes sort of let them do their thing. Also, as I pointed out in my video, he has the hashtag Drew Lock has a horse cock following him to Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Not even as you would think I would be doing, focusing on the part about cock, but horse. I think horse, Broncos.
That's important.
It's really important in my opinion.
Because even like horse, we don't say that about Nick Foles. We just say he has a big dick.
Yeah.
But like
if it was Nick Foles, cock, it would have been very, I don't know, telling. If that was his hashtag in college and then he won a Super Bowl for the Eagles, Nostradamus with the hashtag,
Exactly.
Whatever.
That would have been a weird, thing for.
I was trying to think of Nostradamus.
Kind of Wildcats.
And I kept thinking of Rasputin instead, and I couldn't figure out the.
Yeah, two guys that are
different,
commonly confused.
Yeah, Rasputin and Nostradamus, my two favorite people in history.
One made predictions, the other one just
wouldn't die.
Both
good people to be associated with for
I guess so.
Quarterback.
Yeah.
Tom Brady's probably Rasputin.
At this point, yes. At this point.
Okay, so we got Locke, and then the Broncos take Dre'Mont and Jones from Ohio State, defensive line.
I was in the kitchen when this pick happened, and like the TV was a little further away, and I heard Draymond Green. So I was thoroughly confused, as you might imagine.
Confused. Like, they already picked a tight end.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, he played football once and he was not very good.
Like when the Broncos moved back to 20, I was hoping they were going to address the defensive line at the 20 pick because the top part of the draft had a lot of edge rushing and defensive line talent. Because I don't know, I just think that's an area where they can get better is on the defensive interior. But then I started looking at the depth the Broncos have. So you've got
not a weakness, really.
No, you've got Gotsis, you've got Harris, and you've got Wolf. And now you have Dre'Mont Jones. You have DeMarcus Walker, who is going into is this his third coaching staff on the defensive side of the ball? Hopefully
no, it's a second coaching staff, but what people believe is that like he just wasn't used properly by that coaching staff at all.
Right.
And then this one is going to make a commitment to him, which may or may not happen. But
we just don't know. Like, and Zach Kerr's there, and they brought back Billy Wynn, who I liked when he was with the Broncos. So I think I feel pretty good about, getting another guy who can go in as a rotational piece on that defensive line. Mm-hmm. And he looks like an edge rusher who just kind of plays in the middle of the defensive line to me.
Yeah, he looks like a classic like three technique guy, so probably fits in well with the scheme. I honestly didn't really know much about him until you mentioned that he had like a ton of pressures in college. So
that'll be good.
I'll take it. Good enough for me.
Oregon linebacker Justin Hollins. Also, like he plays a lot of outside linebacker. He played inside linebacker. Have no clue how Fangio's going to use him, but
I saw him play in college, and I think he scored a touchdown at the game that I was at. So I'm just going to say this is a really good pick.
Great pick. And then the Broncos, I think, reach pretty high for Juwann Winfree from Colorado. But it's a guy they, I guess, really liked. I know Philip Lindsay really likes him. He battled adversity. Like I don't know. I forget the college he went to before CU. Do you know which college it was?
I have no idea.
But he got suspended for PED or drug use or something and got a second chance with CU. And from what everybody said, like capitalized on it. It helped him shape him into a man, all the cliche bullshit you hear about somebody who does something good with the second chance. And I like adding another piece to the wide receiver set is totally fine.
Yeah. I was going to ask, are you surprised that they waited until their last pick to take a wide receiver?
I don't know if was surprised, but with Emmanuel Sanders being in what could be his last year in Denver, I guess I would have been fine if they used a pick earlier on a wide receiver. Also because we did a video about wide receivers and I had to learn about them. So
correct.
I would have maybe known the guy they picked, and that always makes me feel better.
Yeah. Another thing we should talk about too that is kind of telling just by omission is they didn't take a cornerback.
Yeah. That was huge.
A good sign
for Chris Harris.
You would think for Chris Harris that they're going to pay him. And John Elway is going to stick to his word that they're going to address it after the draft, because if they had traded down and taken DeAndre Baker at 20, then I think we were all about to be kind of nervous. Yeah,
no, that's true. Although, even if the Chris Harris stuff didn't happen, I would have wanted to see them take a corner somewhere.
That's fair.
Because, I mean,
right.
Isaac Yiadom is the depth guy there who's going to fill in if something happens to one of the other corners. But other than that, I thought there was a decent amount of corners that they could have taken in the second round as well. So, the corner run happened right before they picked. So,
right.
But at 20, they could have gotten, a really solid talent. But I think it is a good sign for Chris Harris. I think it's good that John Elway wants to talk to him one-on-one or whatever. And I think it'll get worked out, even though it looked like he was gone before the draft started. I was prepared to write a Chris Harris gets traded video with you, Will, and I'm glad we didn't have to do it this
Hopefully week. That never sees the light of day.
Yeah, exactly. So, but the big Broncos signing is Malik Reed, who
Right.
you told me you had a class with. Give us the details on Malik Reed from Nevada, right? You went to college?
Yeah. Well, I took that's Core Humanities 202 with him back in second semester of my sophomore year of college. So I was taking that class with him. I was there on Friday when the Broncos won the Super Bowl on Sunday. So that's just kind of a sign.
Wow.
Late every single day, but to be fair, it was a 9 a.m. class on Friday morning. Didn't seem, I don't know. I can't really say for him. I don't want to speak bad about a guy who's, on the team now. But he was projected to go like from the, anywhere from the 5th round to, where he actually, went on to do, which was sign as an undrafted free agent. So I think it was a really good value pick. Pretty good edge rusher. Has a chance to like make the practice squad, I think. Just a talented guy, like was at Nevada for a long time, clearly. Like he was there when I was a sophomore. I'm out of college now, so he was there for 4 years. I just thought it was funny because like everyone knew he was a football player automatically because like on the first day of class, like we all go around and like this is like a small class, like a group discussion type of class. And like everybody goes around and like says like something interesting about you and like where you're from, what's your hometown? It's like, all right, yeah, I'm blah blah blah, I'm from Sacramento, whatever, blah blah blah, I'm from Reno. And he's like, I'm from Alabama. It's like, all right, yeah, we get it. You're good at football.
Yeah, nobody leaves Alabama to go to Nevada.
Nope,
unless there's like
sports.
A big reason.
Yeah.
So you think solid pick there for the Broncos then?
I do. Yeah, I think he was like one of the priority free agents.
Cool. Yeah,
so I'm excited. I'll get it if his jersey ever becomes available. And I'm in a place where I can afford his jersey, just questionable. I might get it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Then the only other undrafted free agent I want to talk about is Brett Ripon.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Boise State quarterback. And this is, I don't know, it's just kind of crazy to me that he's the nephew of Mark Ripon, who beat Jim Kelly in the Super Bowl.
Correct.
And John Elway drafted Jim Kelly's nephew. John Elway doing quarterbacks he used to play against solids by bringing their nephews on board. But also, like, people like Brett Ripon quite a bit.
They did, yeah. Yeah, no, he was a 4-year starter at Boise State. Was really, really productive. Probably their second best quarterback in, the history of their school behind Kellen Moore, but a more pro, more suited to the pros than Kellen Moore, obviously. This is a guy who could have been drafted too. And it would have been surprising if like the Broncos took him anywhere from the 5th to the 7th round. So I actually think this is a guy who can develop into like a long-time backup for them if everything goes well.
We got Drew Lock starting and Brett Ripon backing him up.
Yeah, I mean the Ripons
also great value, Will. Great value, and nothing is more important in the draft than value.
Correct. I think we've learned that. I was gonna say that the Ripon people were talking about the Bosa's being the new Mannings. I think the Ripons are the new Mannings. You've got obviously Mark Ripon, Super Bowl MVP. Didn't really do anything aside from that in his career. That's okay. Right. Angela Ripon, who was, I assume, the MVP of the Lingerie Football League at one point. And then you've got Brett Ripon, who could potentially be the Peyton Manning of that family.
I think we got a good video. The new royal family of football, the Ripons.
That's right.
Also, didn't the Giants almost sign Brett Ripon, or was that Malik Reed? One of those guys almost went to the Giants, but then the Broncos got him. I'm pretty sure.
I think that was Reed.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the Broncos. And let's talk about the Chargers, Chiefs, and Raiders. Raiders, another controversial team in terms of draft grades, sort of all over the place. But let's start with the Chargers. Highest grade, A, lowest, C+, just like the Broncos. Not a lot of people talked about what the Chargers did in the draft. I would say they needed more help on the offensive line, and they only took one offensive lineman. So I would say that's their knock. But then they selected Jerry Tillery, who I mocked to the Broncos at 10.
This is a great pick.
Great pick for them.
Yeah.
Addresses a need for the Chargers, which is what I thought with the Broncos, interior sort of pass rush, even though Shelby Harris should be starting for the Broncos. So I think they're going to get more out of him. But Jerry Tillery, Notre Dame, he will pair with Brandon Mebane, Joey Bosa, and Mark Ingram.
Yeah.
Mark Ingram. God damn.
Yep.
On the defensive line for the Chargers. Do you want to talk about this, or should I just go through all their picks and we can kind of just glaze over?
No, I mean, they clearly have a strategy. Like, they're loading up on defense. I think it was a pretty good draft. They got Nasir Adderley to put next to Derwin James. So they've got – if he turns into a really good player, then that's maybe the best,
safety tandem.
1-2 at safety in the NFL.
And young. So young.
Yeah. So that's disheartening for AFC West fans.
Yeah. And, the Adrian Phillips, Rayshon Jenkins, Derwin James, Adderley, they have depth at safety now.
They do. Yeah.
And then they take maybe one of the better named players, tackles, Trey Pipkins from Sioux Falls.
Yeah, it's like kind of an ironic name to take a guy named Pipkins at tackle, who's like one of the bigger players on the team.
Yeah.
It's like when you call like a big guy like tiny.
Little. Yeah.
Yeah. Little Trey. And then Tranquil is just not a very inspiring name for
Drew Tranquil,
linebacker. Yeah. You want like a really like aggressive name, and then you just get Tranquil.
Yeah, so that's 2 Notre Dame picks for the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
Then they grabbed a quarterback. People thought the Chargers might take a quarterback earlier too.
Yeah, and people
looking ahead for Phillip Rivers' replacement, right?
He's talking about with Josh Rosen too, and apparently they didn't want to do that, which I think would have made a lot of sense for him. But
Rosen, that would have been for the Chargers as an organization, probably a really smart move, unless Phillip Rivers, ends up playing like 4 or 5 more years. Which I think Rivers is the one guy who loves playing but does not want to play that much longer. I think if he
I don't know, man. If I had if I had 25 kids like him, I might want to.
That's where you're going.
Yeah.
I knew it.
I might want to, get out of the house as much as I could for as long as I, was able
Fair
to
enough.
physically.
But they took quarterback Easton Stick from North Dakota.
Yep. Literally translates to baseball bat.
Very good. Very good. I had an Easton bat when I played baseball. I
had a Rawlings.
I don't know anything about Easton Stick, but I feel like over the last few months on Twitter, people will just mention Easton Stick to me. Like, you should check out Easton Stick.
Yeah.
Why? Because his name's cool, or because he's actually a good quarterback? But he played in North Dakota. That's why I never fucking heard of him.
I mean, I'm surprised they didn't take, I feel like Phillip Rivers and Buckshot Calvert out of Liberty would have been a pretty intimidating 1-2 at quarterback.
Buckshot.
Between, the two of them, Buckshot Calvert, like, he's probably going to have as many kids as Phillip Rivers too, based on his choice of university.
Yeah, no shit.
So maybe they weren't willing to, take on that much baggage, but
the Chargers
feels like pretty decent value there.
Yeah, the Chargers only want quarterbacks who use the rhythm method for sex practices.
Correct. Yeah.
So yeah, then they go 6th and 7th round. Like, I don't know these guys. Amiki,
no idea.
Igbule, defensive end. Houston, Cortez, Broughton, tackle, Cincinnati. So they had 2 defensive linemen late. Probably their biggest area of need is making their defensive line better.
Yeah. It seems like a pretty good draft, I'll say.
One more pick than the Broncos. So
yeah, I will say about the Chargers, they spent some pretty high capital on guys like not too high, but like Forrest Lamp, who everybody assumed was going to be great for them, and then Dan Feeney at center, who hasn't turned out to be all that good. There's still time, he could be good, but they better hope that they do get good because they didn't take anybody to replace them. So
yeah, was Forrest Lamp hurt last year again?
maybe. I would assume so. I don't know. It's a great name. So.
Michael Schofield ended up playing ahead of him. I can't remember what happened.
Yeah.
I think he got hurt again.
Anytime you're playing Michael Schofield, you have to assume that there were injuries.
Yeah, but that's going to continue to be – right now their offensive line is still their biggest weakness.
I mean, they're pretty lucky that they have a guy like Phillip Rivers who kind of negates some of that.
Yeah.
Obviously because he's such an athlete.
But they're also the team that didn't need I feel they didn't have huge holes like the Chiefs do now. The Raiders, they're Swiss cheese. I don't even know what to make of the Raiders.
Right. They are just a giant black hole as a team.
Yeah. The Chargers needed to do the least to get better in this draft. So
right.
I don't know. But the Chargers always look good in the offseason.
Correct.
And they, we saw them shit the bed in the playoffs last year. So
mm-hmm. We should probably talk about the Chiefs too because they've kind of tipped their hand at pick 56 too by taking Mecole Hardman. Hardman, just a ridiculous name, but super fast guy out of Georgia. Basically, Tyreek Hill's replacement already. Yeah. Tyreek Hill is still on the roster. At the time of this recording, so
about to go on the exempt list or some shit.
Right.
In NFL.
Yeah.
Chiefs highest grade B+, lowest grade D+. So definitely not as good as the Broncos.
No.
They took a fast they needed to use pick 56, in my opinion, to improve their defense. And they weren't able to do that because of the Tyreek Hill news that broke the day of the draft. With him just being a giant piece of shit like we thought he might be. So they have to draft a player they were counting on being with them next year. Although if the reports were true that they tried to trade him, I think I heard they tried to trade him during the season, but nobody would take.
Yeah, it's why are you trying to get rid of this guy?
So – and then let's see.
Fishy.
They had 6 picks. They didn't have a first-round pick. They have to address a need they didn't know they would have.
Here's the thing: is they had clear holes that they needed to address on the defensive side of the football, and because of the Tyreek Hill situation, they had to spend their first pick on a guy who's clearly not going to be as good as Tyreek Hill in that offense.
And not even a player it's not a wide receiver everybody was talking about.
It's not like Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, one of the top explosive receivers in the draft.
Who would still be a pretty significant downgrade from Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, as shitty as a person Tyreek Hill is.
Aside from everything in life is outside of football.
Yeah, that's
a big upgrade.
He's literally only done one thing good with his life is play football.
Yeah, score touchdowns.
Yeah, so then the Chiefs go on to take is it Juwann Thornhill?
Yeah, Juwann Thornhill.
Safety, Virginia, to pair with Tyrann Mathieu, Daniel Sorensen, who every time I hear his name, I for whatever reason, I just think of Matt Saracen. Yeah. And Jordan Lucas at safeties.
Another small safety to go with Tyrann Mathieu. So they clearly have a type back there. For what it's worth, they kind of a different approach from Eric Berry going on to Mathieu and Thornhill, who are kind of more I don't know how much they're going to do in the box, but they can definitely cover deep. So
right,
got a different philosophy for sure on defense now.
Then Kalen Saunders, defensive tackle. And then finally at 4, they grab a corner, Rashad Fenton, South Carolina, which I feel like corner should have been what they took at pick 56 maybe. Kendall Fuller, good corner, but then their other corners, Bashad Breeland, Charvarius Ward, And they did take Keith Reeser from the AAF, so maybe Keith Reeser saves the franchise.
Who was already with the Chiefs before he went to the AAF.
And, you know, maybe Rashad Fenton turns out to be pretty good. I don't know enough about him, but I feel like they had to address that position later than they would have liked to. And then, of course, running back Darwin Thompson, Utah State.
Yep, everybody knows him.
And they now have Carlos Hyde, Damian Williams, and Darrell Williams, and they lost Kareem Hunt there. And then they take a center, Nick Allegretti, round 6.
Got it. Sounds like some type of musical, like classical musical term.
Allegretti.
Yeah.
Are you a soprano or an Allegretti?
Oh, I'm an Allegretti.
I'm a falsetto.
Yeah, so essentially they replaced Tyreek Hill with Mecole Hardman and Kareem Hunt with Darwin Thompson.
Right.
So, way to go.
They did add Frank Clark via the trade.
Yeah, we should mention that the Chiefs have not had a first-round pick in either of the last 2 drafts, which –
yeah, that's true.
I don't know if that's a good thing. Obviously, they're happy with the trade last year because they gave up that first-round pick for Patrick Mahomes, which, you know, that turned out to be pretty good.
And with Mahomes – you're probably going to turn average wide receivers into pretty good receivers. That's probably the upside of, you know, you take a guy like Hardman. He's going to play better than he is because he has a good quarterback.
Right. The first round that they gave up this year, though, for Frank Clark, I don't think we've talked about this on the show, but that I think everybody universally agreed, like regardless of how Frank Clark plays, like that's just bad business to give up D Ford for a very similar player in Frank Clark and also give up a first round pick.
Right.
And also like pay him, which you could have just done to D Ford without the first round pick. So
yeah, I don't know what the Chiefs are doing defensively.
Also, you know, the whole Frank Clark stuff, you know, right when the Tyreek Hill stuff resurfaced.
I didn't know about Frank Clark's domestic violence history either.
Yeah, it wasn't great. It was not great. So, I mean, you know, props to the Chiefs for just blatantly not caring about it.
It's almost like the Chiefs saw that the Raiders were able to trade Khalil Mack, and then we're like, hey, we'll get rid of Justin Houston and D Ford, but unlike the Raiders, get returned.
Yeah, it's like, nope, we just want them gone. Yeah, they've discovered the new money ball. Like the new market inefficiency is just take shitty people.
If they had acquired Frank Clark and kept Houston or Ford somehow, then they would look like they know what they're doing. And then also, like, I'm not sold that Steve Spagnuolo is
still good at all.
Yeah, like,
I don't think so.
I'm not sure he's going to fix their defense. So but if their offense continues to produce like it's done, then defense, like you can give up points. Like really, if you have an offense that continues to produce the way the Chiefs offense did last year, what you want your defense to be able to do is cause turnovers and be like a playmaking defense, even if they give up points and yards and all that other shit. Kind of like when the Broncos won there was the second Super Bowl, like their defense wasn't good, but they made a lot of plays that got the offense the ball back to continue that, like, let them score more points. So
opportunistic.
Maybe they can get by with that kind of philosophy. That's like the upside, but I'm going to stick by the fact that I think their defense is going to prevent them from being as successful as they should be. Yeah.
I mean, well, at least they tried to change the offseason overtime rules. So
right. Yeah. And really focused on high character guys.
Correct.
Okay, so the Raiders.
Speaking of high character guys, they went the opposite direction.
They're making some changes.
They sure did.
Highest grade for the Raiders, A. Lowest grade, F.
I think that's just how grades work. I think that's just the only grades within the realm of possibility.
What I want to see is whoever gave them the A debate whoever gave them the F.
Yeah. Were you watching the same draft that I was?
really, I think what this says is nobody has a clue if this is a good draft for the Raiders or not.
I mean, based on, if we're talking about getting value for your pick, this was not it.
Bad value.
Pick
Bad
4.
Value.
Here's the thing. I don't fucking understand it. Mike Mayock and John Gruden, you're both really dumb for doing this. They announced, before the draft, that they were going to have a surprise pick at 4. First of all, who are you benefiting by, tipping your hand that you're going to – everybody knows you're going to do something stupid. You can at least pretend for the week, leading up to the draft, that you're going to conduct yourself like an actual professional, football person and take someone who belongs at 4. Nope. They took Clelin Ferrell at pick number 4, who probably would have been there at 25 or 27. So well done. But at least he's high character. So they're really, they're really on the up and up in terms of their locker room. So they get a bunch of high character players to take to Las Vegas, Nevada, which they'll surely need high character people there.
That is true. That's a fair point. I don't mind that pick. Because
what do you mean you don't mind that pick? That was probably worse than the Daniel Jones pick.
I don't know. Well, I mean, I don't know. I think
if that's the guy that you want and you're picking at 4, just trade down. It can't be that hard.
They couldn't get a trade. Yeah, you're right. They couldn't get a trade. I agree. If you're
all you had to do is take even a third round pick. To trade down 10 spots, which is not what it costs to go 10 picks. It costs much more than that. Even that, Ferrell would have still been there, and you get a third-round pick, and people aren't calling you a dumb fucking idiot for taking him at 4.
No, that's
a win-win-win.
That's true. In terms of strategy, you're right. Stupid. In terms of I think I like this guy, Clelin Ferrell. I think he's going to be a decent football player.
He's going to be fine. He's going to be average, probably.
We'll see. But
that's what everybody's saying. So
their defensive line isn't scaring anybody between Ferrell, Maurice Hurst, Jonathan Hankins, and Arden Key right now.
No, it's not.
Then they take Josh Jacobs, running back, Alabama, who
another just the most predictable pick in the draft. I'm not going to call it a bad pick, but obviously this is the guy who they're going to take. John Gruden's going to take a powerful SEC running back to replace Marshawn Lynch, who announced his retirement days before the draft. This one, I think everyone saw from miles and miles away.
Right. When did the first running back go? After
this
him?
Is him.
No, after him, I mean. Sorry.
It
was in the second round, right?
That's a good question. Yeah, it was in the second round.
Because, again, you could argue they probably could have taken Josh Jacobs in the second round.
Probably.
And, But
I don't think it's a good idea to take first-round running backs.
He's going to be paired with Isaiah Crowell and Jalen Richard.
Yeah.
Which only running back there that scares me is Isaiah Crowell after what he did to the Broncos last year.
Correct.
He's going to get one good game a year, and I feel like it's always going to be against the Broncos. And then safety, Jonathan Abram with their 27th pick.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty good pick.
And then, so they have LaMarcus Joyner, Carl Joseph, and now Jonathan Abram. So maybe their safeties are slightly above average now, I think, maybe at best.
Yeah, they took a couple corners. They took Trayvon Mullen out of Clemson, who obviously played his best in the most important game of his career.
Right. 3 Clemson guys for the Raiders.
Yeah. Yeah, and they took another long cornerback, Isaiah Johnson, out of Houston. So maybe that was with Courtland Sutton in mind. Who knows? But they've got Garyon Conley, Trayvon Mullen, and Isaiah Johnson at corner. So
they have young corners, and they have Nick Nelson that they drafted last year. And I remember that because one of my friends in high school is named Nick Nelson. But he was injured last year, during the draft, but could be a decent corner. I think people thought he was pretty good, but he fell in the draft because he was injured. But there's no way to know that. And the Raiders secondary was terrible last year. I don't know if they're going to be greatly improved with a bunch of young guys and then other guys that I don't really know playing back there for Oakland.
Yeah, I don't really have high hopes for them as long as John Gruden is their head coach, which, fortunately it's only going to be for another 9 years. So,
yeah, I think their best pick might be Hunter Renfro in round 5.
I agree.
Because of they had, I mean, with Antonio Brown and Tyrell Williams, like Renfro, he's a slot receiver, right?
Yeah, no, he is the most slot of all.
Right,
receivers.
and he played 5 full years. Like, how long did he play college?
Yeah.
6 years, 7 years. He's
played
been
a really
in college
long time.
forever. Yeah. But he's like a reliable. He's just different than those other two, and is probably like your safety blanket, third down type guy. So in terms of fitting with what they already have, that looks like a smart pick. And also because I know who he is.
Yeah, scored the game-winning touchdown in the championship game 3 years ago now. So
yeah. And then the tight end, Foster guys. Moreau, Quentin Bell, defensive end. Those guys.
Yeah, based on their first few picks, I wouldn't give it a very high grade. They could have just taken anybody at any position, and it would have been a position of need. So I think they should have just taken – it just blows my mind that they took Cleveland Farrell when Josh Allen was still very much on the board. And right. Josh Allen, who's a very high-character guy, it's like you can get high-character guys in the second round too. So you don't have to take him at 4. And, like, Josh Allen's not a low-character guy.
No, but I'm not going to be mad because if they didn't get much better, that works out for the Broncos.
Oh, I'm not – yeah, no, I was delighted when I saw it. But if I was a Raiders fan, and I do know several, they're not –
Not happy?
Super happy, yeah.
It's either an A or an F. That's all I know.
Yep.
But, so in conclusion, we don't know if any of these teams got a lot better.
No.
I thought the draft was going to be crazier than it was. The Broncos were the first team to make a trade, and we thought multiple trades could have happened in the top 10, and none of them did. I would have liked to see it get shaken up a little bit, but it really wasn't.
We had Josh Allen's go at 7 the last 2 drafts, which I don't think that's going to happen for a third year in a row.
No, it'll never happen again. I'll guarantee that.
Freezing cold takes, get on it.
Garen, yeah, listen to my podcast and then bring it up on your Twitter account.
Please, yes. You're real stupid.
Trying to think here if we're missing anything before we leave. I don't think so. I think we covered it pretty good. I could be wrong.
I think so. I think yeah.
Which Bronco player that was drafted do you think is going to make the biggest impact this season?
I think it's Noah Fant because there's a hole at tight end. I think there's a chance that all 3 of the other tight ends could get injured horribly. And so I think he's going to catch a lot of passes. He just fits seamlessly into the offense right away, which, I mean, you could see a scenario where Dalton Reisner doesn't start right away because, they've got other options on the offensive line with experience. I know he will eventually. Obviously, you don't think Drew Lock's going to start right away. Dre'Mont Jones might not. And then, obviously, the rest of them are all
Dre'Mont Jones won't start, but he'll play for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you could easily see Noah Fant, like, even if Hireman's, like, technically the starter, like, you'll see him play, from day one.
Yeah, the thing about Noah Fant, too, is, like, he almost benefits if one of the other Broncos tight ends plays pretty well. Because
because he does other things.
Yeah, like, if Jake Butt, gets back from injury and becomes like a threat in the passing game, I feel like that opens up the door for Fant to, like, there's too many targets then that defensives have to account for. So Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Dalton Reisner might make the biggest impact, but since he plays on the line, nobody's going to fucking notice. We're talking about it. That includes us.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that was the draft recap. Good job, everybody, except for the Giants, clearly. Yeah. And we will be back probably not next week, but the week after.
Almost definitely. Yep.
Unless, like, Chris Harris kills John Elway.
Could happen.
Could. It could happen. Bye.
Fingers crossed that it doesn't.